Hey everyone, and welcome back to Crypto Explained. If you're new to the channel, my name's Max. This channel is all things Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I release a video every single day where I'm analyzing certain trends within the market, talking about certain news stories that are cycling around, and also doing some spotlights on specific cryptocurrencies that I think may be up and coming. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely swing by my channel when you get the chance. Check out my other videos and feel free to subscribe while you're there. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, the price movements we've seen very recently with the Bitcoin price and pretty much across all cryptocurrency. I really think this is just another example of how patience is the best strategy when it comes to Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin and altcoins are obviously different. I tend to, look at some altcoins and see how they're doing because I do find a lot of them very interesting. But overall, I think Bitcoin is the best investment in cryptocurrency, and that's why I really believe in HODL, hold on for dear life, when it comes to Bitcoin. For altcoins, not so much because they're a lot more volatile, a lot more unpredictable, a lot riskier. But when it comes to Bitcoin, if you just look at what Bitcoin has been able to achieve over the 11 or so years that it has been available for people to buy, it really is absolutely fascinating because, we've had these crazy spikes, we've had these crazy crashes overnight, 80, 90% crashes, going up 200, 300% in a couple days. We've seen just crazy things happen within Bitcoin. But if you zoom out and you look at the overall kind of price movement of Bitcoin, it's pretty much like this, and then boom, 2017, and now 2021. So that's really interesting because I think once we keep on going into this process and more Bitcoins will get mined into circulation, we'll get closer and closer to that 21 million max supply. And this process keeps happening. I think we keep zooming out and zooming out on the Bitcoin picture. We're just going to see an upwards movement. We're not going to see any of these spikes or dips or spikes or dips. We're not going to see it at all because it's not going to be significant enough within the bigger picture to actually be registered on what Bitcoin is doing. So that's what I like to talk about every time that there's a big movement upwards, then a big movement downwards like we saw. We've seen it twice this year already. We saw Bitcoin go to about 42K, and then it came back down to almost under 30K. A lot of people were panicked. A lot of people thought this was the end of the bull run. Then once it kind of bottomed out, started creeping up back again, and now it went up to about 58K. And then after it hit 58K, it came back down to mid 40s. Again, a lot of people were really worried about it, but now we're in the mid 50s again. So I really think that this is just kind of playing out in slow motion, and we've really been able to see that HODL is always the best way to go. Now, do I think there's going to be a Bitcoin crash at the end of this bull run? Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I have been doing a lot of research into this whole super cycle idea, that this is a different time, this is a different cycle, and we have so many other external catalysts outside of just the halving events. So obviously the halving events happen every 4 years, and every time that happens, it's a very clear cycle that about 18 months after the halving event, we'll see in that range a pretty big movement upwards. But now we have obviously everything that's going on with the world right now, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that people aren't really sure how the economy is going to react to a lot of changes that we've seen. And we've really been shaken off our foundation. We've seen that the way that the world works and the way that we're used to the world working isn't always how it's going to be. There's going to be situations where there's very, very unexpected events that pretty much shift our entire course of what we're doing as a society. And that goes across that's not just the US, that's every single country that's had to really adjust the last couple years in how everything works, how life works essentially. So when things like that happen, there's a lot of people in the Bitcoin community that go, look, this could be a super cycle because we have all these external catalysts. We have obviously the uncertainty in the world like we just talked about. We also have the institutional investors getting into Bitcoin. We talked about the institutional wave at the end of 2017. It never came. But I don't think that those people were wrong. They were just a little early. That was the whole meme when everything was going up like crazy, almost up to 20,000. Everyone was going, here comes the institutional wave. Now the institutions are going to start getting into Bitcoin. It never happened because Bitcoin crashed soon thereafter in early 2018. But now that it's back up again, all institutions are paying attention to it. A lot of them are getting into it. So from this standpoint, I guess I understand why things could be a little bit accelerated. But there's two factors that are going to play in every single Bitcoin bull cycle, and not just Bitcoin, but investing in general. There's two things that really drive a lot of emotional decisions within investing. It's greed and it's fear. Everybody is prone to these two things, greed and fear, because when things go up, you get a little greedy. You get a little, okay, I want to take some off the table. I want to make sure that I'm able to maximize my profits for this run. And then the fear comes in too that, okay, maybe it could come down at some point and then I could lose all of my earnings from this past year and a half, all of my gains that I've been able to net through this investment. So those two things kind of play off each other, greed and fear. I don't think that Bitcoin's going to be able to escape it this time around. I think that we're going to see, once again, a pretty big movement upwards. I've talked about, Bitcoin price predictions before. I feel like people kind of get tired of the price predictions because who really knows, to be honest. I do think we're going over 100K for sure. In fact, I do think we'll go over 100K maybe by the end of April, early May. I think it could happen as early as then. As far as the top of the cycle, who knows? Like I said, nobody knows. I would guess it would get up to like 250K, somewhere around there, but there's no guarantee that that'll ever happen. There's no guarantee that that'll happen during this cycle. And when it comes down, who knows as well. But I do think that one thing I will say, I think that when it does come down, I think the price that it kind of levels out at will be higher than where we are now. I think it will probably, if I had to guess, I would say like 70 to 80K. It kind of levels out after the crash. So that really puts it into perspective too, because we're at a point right now where we may never see these prices again. Remember when Bitcoin came all the way back down to, $3,000 in 2018 after the big run in 2017? We never saw 3,000 again. We never even saw 3,000 during the initial shock of the change of the world in 2020. It almost got there, but not quite. So it's one of those situations where you really just have to pay attention to everything that's happening, and whether or not you decide to take some off the table when it goes up, that's really up to you. I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't really say anything specifically, but that's why I think HODL is probably the best way to go, just because when in doubt, zoom out. We're always going to be zooming out on the Bitcoin picture, and when we zoom out, we're going to see just an upwards movement. We're not going to see these spikes and dips. So that really puts it into perspective for me. And it is, if you have kind of this idea that this is going to happen beforehand, it is tempting to want to take some off the table as long as you're going to put it back in. That's kind of my whole mantra with that too. I want to make sure that if I do take some off the table at the end of this bull run, I want to make sure that I put that right back into Bitcoin. So I'm just increasing my Bitcoin position, not making any money to, spend on vacations and whatever else, whatever other luxuries that are very fleeting and are not going to net me a long return. So that's my idea right now with everything that's happening. I just want to make sure that everyone stayed updated about that, because as we've had these price movements up and then price movements down, I know there can be a lot of panic out there. But at least for me, I'm very encouraged with everything that I'm seeing. We've talked for a long time that 2021 was going to be a big year. We've seen it play out, and I'm very excited to see that continue towards the end of the year. And obviously we'll be updating you every step of the way. Thanks so much for watching this video today, guys. If you did find it useful, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Both of those things help out my channel so much with overall exposure, being able to be seen by more people, and helping the channel grow. If you have any other questions about Bitcoin, about HODL, and about this dollar cost averaging strategy, definitely put that in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Also, if you have anything else to add or any other video suggestions, that's welcome in the comment section as well. We'll be back tomorrow with another video, and I hope you join me. Thanks again, guys.